Ever wonder how to make your character look relaxed without sleepy vibes? Because chilled eyes aren't popping wide open, but we are not going for nap time either, so let's find that perfect balance together. And we'll see everything about eyes. Different styles from super simple to almost semi-realistic. Still will stay in the cartoon style, of course. We'll look at how eye placement changes a character's vibe, play with shapes and lines, add eyebrows, and even study what makes eyes read as feminine. So let's jump in. First, let's start with the simplest eyes you can imagine. 2 black dots. And yep, these dots absolutely earn their place in the cartoon universe, because if you add just a tiny bit to them, like a small shine or a couple of lines hinting at the eyeballs, they instantly look more polished than just 2 plain dots. Or you can draw only the lower eyelids, or another version where you add the upper eyelids and the eyebrows as well, because you don't always need eyebrows at all, as you saw earlier. So even with just 2 dots, there's plenty to experiment with. But let's check out another style where we draw the full eye outline. Now here you can play with size, so they don't need to be the same size. One eye bigger, the other smaller. You can tilt them or even merge them together, then just erase the middle lines and ta-da! Melted eyes, nice and clean. Okay, but this time we need eyelids as well, because if you drop the pupils in without them, the eyes look pretty surprised even without eyebrows. But if you add eyebrows on top of that, the expression gets way too intense. But we don't want that now, so we need the eyelids, but for the right place, because if you draw them too low, then your character looks annoyed or sleepy. If you draw too high, then they don't help at all. It won't work well. And if you leave it, you get those staring eyes again, so just put it somewhere above the middle for a nice neutral look. Now the pupils can come, but where you can draw them? You can draw between the upper and lower eyelids, somewhere in the middle, or you can place them touching the upper eyelids. And another option is to tuck them slightly under the upper eyelids. Not too much, because you drift back into sleep again, so just a little bit. And here's a really interesting trick. In this first pair, it feels totally normal that the character is looking straight at us, right? But watch what happens when I draw the same eyes again and nudge the pupils just a little closer together. Not too much, or you get crossed eyes. So just a tiny shift. And suddenly the gaze snaps into focus, see? So this one feels more like a staring gaze, while this one has much more focus. So here's the middle line of the eyes, and you push them just a bit inward. Little detail, but big impacts, I think. I love this trick. And they need eyebrows too. I'm not going wild with them here though. We're keeping this one pretty neutral, because you'll see in the upcoming eye videos how eyebrows can instantly shift the whole mood. So for now, I'm just keeping them super simple. And here's another type of eyeball I often draw. I start with the iris, the colored part, and give it a lighter tone. Then I add the pupil, strengthen the outer line of the iris, and drop in the highlights. It's a more detailed style and is definitely something you can try too. But the eye shape doesn't have to be a circle or an oval. It can be more triangular, for example. Now here's the upper eyelid and just a bit of the lower one. Then I add these small lines, which are the eyelid creases, the neutral fold in the upper lid where the skin gathers. They add depth and make the shape feel more believable, even in a cartoony style. And they always follow the curve of the upper eyelid. But when you should draw it and when you can leave it out? Well, it depends, because not everyone has this little crease above their eyes. Well, they do, but for some people it can't really be seen or it's barely noticeable. And when it is visible, it can look all kinds of different ways. But if you want to draw it, this is a good way to start, I think. At least I did this when I started experimenting with the eyelids. But the best thing you can do as a beginner is just to experiment. Draw a few eyes with it and a few without it, and you'll figure it pretty quickly, firstly, what looks good, what works, and secondly, whether you actually like using it or not. Or we can go with a more squarish shape. These eyes are a bit more complex, built from a few separate lines. You can clearly see the upper and lower eyelids, and you can decide how many lines you want to use. I made a quick tip video about when fewer lines work better, link in the description. So with this style, you've got way more options to experiment with than the simple oval eyes. Because here you can play with the line weight as well, for example, just like I did here. Now about the shine. How do you know how much to add? Well, it depends. One light source usually means one highlight. If you've got 2 or more light sources, you can add more highlights. I usually stick to just one, but it's not quite as simple as that. Still, this rule will do perfectly for now. Now we can switch to a whole different type, the semi-realistic eyes. If you look closely, you'll see I draw the upper eyelids a little flatter than the lower ones. So instead of this curve, I go with this one. The other version works too, nothing wrong with it, it just gives a more relaxed vibe. Here I'm drawing the more detailed eyeball again, and just like before, you can play with the lines. You don't have to let the upper and lower lids meet perfectly at the outer corner, so here and here. So you can leave a small gap if you like. It all depends on how you want to handle your lines. The more you experiment and practice, the faster you'll see improvement. For example, I can already see this one's a bit off, so I tweak it. There we go, much better. This style sits closest to the realism, but it stays firmly in cartoon territory thanks to the simplified shapes. Ooh, and you can draw the eyelid crease in different ways too. For example, you can use 2 lines, like this. It's just a continuation of this line here, see? So just do whichever you prefer. I usually stick with the simple version. Now one thing left for today. What's the difference between male and female eyes? What makes an eye look more feminine? Well, there are lots of factors, but when most of us think of drawing a woman's eye, the first thing that comes to mind is eyelashes. You'll probably draw eyelashes because eyelashes are the most recognizable feminine feature, no matter the style. Even with a simple 2-dot eye, just adding the eyelids and especially the eyelashes instantly reads as a female eye. You can include the lower lids too, but the lashes alone usually do the trick. Or with the other style, where we draw the full eyeline, you can quickly add the eyelashes. You can even emphasize the eyelids with color, hinting at makeup and giving the eye a more feminine touch. So no matter which style you choose, adding eyelashes instantly feminizes the eye. You can also emphasize the eye outline, add details or play with the line weight. These tweaks always help make an eye read as more feminine. Or take the realistic style, it works beautifully there too. But it's not just the eyelashes and the eyeline. The eyebrows matter too, because women's eyebrows are usually a little narrower, a bit more curved, and they tend to sit higher up. But now let's check out a man's eye too, just so we have something to compare it with. They are generally narrower, and we don't emphasize the eyelids as much. The eyebrows are usually thicker, straighter maybe, and sit closer to the eyes. Put a man's and woman's eyes side by side, and I bet you can easily see the difference. And that's the fun part. Whether you start with the simplest dots or go all the way to these semi-realistic eyes, each style has its own place in the cartoon world. There are plenty more out there, of course, and it all depends on the look you are going for. So keep experimenting boldly and see what fits your style best. And when we dive back into eyes, we'll explore surprised or even shocked eyes, and we'll climb the ladder all the way to terrified, so you can see what makes each step feel so different. Should be pretty fun. Nice work today. Every small skill like this builds your whole drawing style. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.